page. Get subscribed and notified for all of the highlights on Off the Bench's YouTube page, like our next guest, Gerry Dinardo, the author of The Magic for LSU football and now a college football analyst on the Big Ten Network. He's also part of 670 The Score. He is, I'd imagine, in popular demand right now with the news of the Big Ten Network. We also talked to Kaylee Hartung, a Baton Rouge native and an ABC News representative, as she is embedded right now with LSU football. She is doing her Good Morning America reports from Baton Rouge at the LSU football operations facility. We'll get the latest from Hartung coming up in 30 minutes. Would you rather Wednesday, 15 minutes from now, still taking your scenarios inside the huddle or inside of the YouTube app? We talked to Andy Staples from The Athletic, as this college football news is ever so fluid. News is changing. Feels like minute by minute, second by second. Yesterday's show's a lot different than today's was, just the news cycle and how it works. Coach Dinardo was in with Moscona yesterday afternoon, and now he's back with us here in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria on Off the Bench. Good to have you back, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning, Jordy. Good morning, T-Bob.
Good morning, Coach. After just 24 hours, Coach, and we asked the same thing to Andy Staples at 7:30. I mean, you've been football has meant so much to you. You've coached it, you've played it, you've covered it, you've reported about it. How crazy has the last 24 hours been from your point of view, from your seat?
Well, about as crazy as it gets. I think most of us are surprised that this comes shortly after the schedule was released, questioning what medical information we know now that we didn't know then. I don't know that we've gotten a great explanation, but it's hard to argue when someone is saying this is not healthy for people that they're responsible for, and basically that's what the presidents are saying. The ADs have a role, the players have a role, the coaches have a role. But at the end of the day, and I think you're going to find this out in the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, as the presidents get more and more involved, and this is the history of college football, things change pretty quickly. Their list of things to do is very long, and they like crossing them off as they complete them. So the presidents have made this pretty unpredictable.
And Coach, honestly, this is probably a question for a lawyer, but it's something that I've tried to kind of find the answer to myself. But do you have any insight as to what they did? Because a lot of this seems to be a liability through, as you said, trying to keep these players that are in your care safe, right? It's a bit of a liability issue. What is the difference in liability, though, versus players being on campus and playing or being on campus and not playing, right? Because either way, they're going to be under that umbrella. They're going to be going to class. They're going to be exposed to the virus.
Bob, I think it's the contact tracing and how much, you interact with other people. I mean, think about it. The Ivy League, I believe it was 7 weeks ago today, made the same decision the Big Ten made yesterday.
Yeah.
So what's changed since 7 weeks ago, right? And again, I think what's changed is who is focused on the information. And if the person that is focused on the information is the president of the university, then they're going to come to different conclusions. Their risks are, they see what we see as a moderate risk, T-Bob, they may see as a high risk, looking at the same information. That's why all the conferences are making different decisions.
Yep.
But I would prepare all the conferences that haven't made a decision yet to get ready for the president to take this decision over. And I think that's when it's going to turn probably for all five major conferences.
Personal feeling, Coach, you think we have football in the fall?
No, I don't. I do not think we'll have football in the fall. No, I'm hoping we have football in the spring. And honestly, guys, the sooner we get to that decision, which I think is inevitable, the better chance we have of planning it. Because you talk about a tough thing. I see this as a spring of 2021 and a fall of 2021, and I think it can work. But I would welcome all kinds of opinions from all kinds of really smart people to put something that would work together. I know, one of the counter arguments with the Big Ten is done. And it's a little bit unfair, I think, because I think the argument should stand on its own feet. But to argue against what the Big Ten did because spring football is unsafe, I think it's two different arguments. I think it's a cop-out to say that fall football should continue because there's no chance in the spring. I think there's little chance in the fall, and it might be 50-50 in the spring. I think they're two different arguments.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. You're making the fall decision independently of other decisions. The other decisions just come afterwards. Coach, you know this better than anyone. I mean, if football was to be canceled here in the South, the emotional impact on the community would be huge. I imagine Big Ten country is not much different. What has been the community response to yesterday's news?
Yeah, it's a little different, T-Bob, conference-wide. It's no different in Columbus, Ohio, than it is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But if you look at 14 versus 14, I think there's a little different level. But great question, and certainly relevant. The community's been mixed. You have Nebraska saying they still want to play, which is certainly problematic. It just depends on the community you're in. I mean, everybody wanted to play, but T-Bob, I think you'll appreciate this. In fact, I'd love your opinion on this. Okay, what we were hearing from the members of the team, we were hearing from the best players on the best teams. As you know, there's 85 scholarships, 105 in camp, and 120 after school starts. Most of your team does not play, right?
Yeah.
Only 22 start, right? So potentially you're running an organization that most of the people in your organization aren't doing what they came to your company to do, in this case, college football. So when we hear about all the stars, what about the second-team guy that played behind you in the offensive line, was a great teammate, just wasn't as good as T-Bob, right? And he was going to get in the game when you guys had a big lead. And now he hears that his health is in danger. Those people can't speak up. You know the culture of the locker room.
Yeah.
You think a second-team guy is going to say, "This is I almost cut."
We're passionate. We like passion.
Do you think a second-team guy is going to stand up and Tiger Stadium locker room and say, "I don't want to do this"? No. You have to, if I'm a coach, I'm meeting with those guys individually to find out the truth. But those are the voices that we have not heard, and people may be surprised. There's more of those voices than there are of the stars of the best teams.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a fascinating hypothetical, right? And I try to put myself in those shoes. I feel like at that age, I would have probably wanted to play. I feel like as you get older, you get a bit more maybe cautious around things. You feel a little less invincible. So maybe I even look at it differently now. What do you think about this, Coach? Because it does feel like something like an NCAA Players Association is going to be a byproduct of this, or has kind of been sped along. If you had something like that, could these players have more of a voice? Or do you think they would just be drowned out?
Yeah, they may have more of a voice, but again, I'm going back to the president. Okay, we all operate underneath them. When they decide to get involved, it's unpredictable. Oh, I don't think it's all that unpredictable.
Yeah.
When they decide to get involved, the whole dynamic changes. Now, I am in favor of the NIL. I'm in favor of players transferring without penalty. I mean, I think the players, I think the players aren't getting what they deserve. They should be getting more because everybody else is getting more. And generationally, the players have always gotten more. It's gone from full scholarship to cost of education, and it's, as y'all would say, it expects them to go to the NIL and a lot of other things when we come out of this. But even then, they still wouldn't have a voice. They would be better off financially, but they still aren't going to have a voice. When the presidents take over, they're the team owners, and some of them act like team owners.
Yeah.
And when they take over, we're at their mercy.
Coach, what's the message from Kevin Warren's office to the Nebraska athletic department?
I think it hit today. I haven't had a chance. I've been on some radio shows this morning. I haven't had a chance to look at it. But my wife, Terry, said to me that it came across that Warren said, if you play games, you no longer be part of the Big Ten. I can't believe that's the exact language, but it sounds like he has said something about it.
Yeah, I read the quote. It was essentially like, we expect if you're a member of the Big Ten, that you're a member of the Big Ten, and that all schools will move forward together in this.
I'll tell you what, guys. A couple of years ago, I do the show on Saturdays, tailgate, and one of the things I do on Friday is end zone. I walk with a coach or a player, and I was walking with Coach Osborne, and I said, tell me about joining the Big Ten. And he said, we had nowhere to go. The Big Ten actually bailed us out, and we were so fortunate. And then obviously he went on about the benefits of the Big Ten and all that. And for a school, for an iconic figure of the school to say that, and now for them to be saying they're going to play somewhere else, I tell you what, again, T-Bob, I keep referring to you because of your playing background. We all decide every day what kind of partner we want to be and what kind of teammate we want to be. Mm-hmm. And if Scott Frost is preaching teamwork and be a good teammate and all that, and then, he takes his ball and goes somewhere else, if I'm a player, I'm sitting there saying, okay, so we're not a good teammate or we are a good teammate. We belong to this conference that saved our school and our program, and now because we disagree, we're going to take our ball and go home. It's not a great message for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Coach Gerry Dinardo here on Off the Bench. Coach, I have one more here. I want to get the coach's perspective. If you're Ryan Day, Harbaugh, you're one of these coaches, like, what are the next steps? Like, how would you look to handle this with your team?
Okay. Well, handle with the team is day-to-day, 20-hour rule, let's stay in shape and all that. But if I'm a big voice in college football, the first thing I'm going to do is stop whining about what just happened. And I'm going to say, let's get back to normal the fall of 2022. And that means that we can have a abbreviated spring of 21 season and an abbreviated abbreviated fall of 21 season. Not everybody who plays 1,000 snaps in the spring 21 season is going to even be on the team in the fall of 2021, right? Because they're going to graduate. Yeah. So when we keep saying this is unsafe for the players, let's go back to the basic rule. 85 scholarships, 44 starters. Not everybody plays. And in fact, I would go as far as perhaps having a rule that if a player played 1,000 snaps in the spring 21 season, he could not start in the fall 21 season, maybe until October. Wow. Let's decide what the hell, how many days is it healthy to go from spring of 21 to fall of 21? The medical professionals tell us how much time we need. Let's finish our season so we can have that spacing in between those two. And if we have certain exceptions where guys are playing just too much, do we play 12 quarters of football instead of 15? I mean, how about outside the box? How about saying spring ball is better than no ball? And how about forgetting about the decision that was made yesterday? That would be my advice.
A proud Paisan. Always good to catch up with the former head coach, Gerry Dinardo. Thank you, Coach.
See you guys, thanks.
All right.